Hello and welcome to the finals of Grand Prix Prague. We can see just two players remain. On the left of our screen, and that's Yusuf Kemal Vefa. He's had just, well, a very small break after an epic semi-final. Meanwhile, Paulo Vitor da Rosa has the advantage of having been able to watch a large amount of that semi-final on the big screen. Kicking things off with a Dund operative here, and I have to say that Paulo, when he was asked which of the players he wanted to win the semi-final, he did pick Yusuf because he was a little bit concerned about hexproof against the removal in his red-black deck.
And off to a really nice start here, curving out, not with the best cards we've ever seen, but certainly not bad.
Yeah, Dund operative as a 3-2 with that Picata Pillar Bug coming in for 3 damage, and the Pillar Bug itself holding off SRAM, the big legend there. Decommission dealing with the artifact creature, so we do get to see an attack here from Yusuf.
Yeah. Trading blows, and you see that PV doesn't want to waste any time.
Yeah, I think that he's been basically winding himself, getting ready for this, doing his sort of Rocky montage preparation for the last hour or so, getting in with Dund operative again here. We're going to see these life totals move more or less in one direction pretty quickly. I mean, we know that Yusuf Kemal Vefa does have some solid ways of slowing down the game a little bit, but there's removal on both sides here.
Yeah, and he could be drawing cards from his removal. That's the difference.
Yeah, there's Revoke Privileges. That's going to deal with Weldfast Monitor. It's still an artifact in play, though, for the purposes of Dund operative. But right now, it does mean that we get to see another attack from SRAM. So life totals now 14-16 in Paulo Vitor da Rosa's favour. More attacks coming through here.
I'm wondering how much more fuel Yusuf has for that SRAM, because he's not willing to trade it. Oh.
Well, if you're looking for an important game-changing card, Quicksmith Rebel does qualify. Even though Revoke Privileges is in play, it does not stop activated abilities on an artifact. It just stops them attacking or blocking or crewing vehicles. And now that Weldfast Monitor has a very potent activated ability. It can tap to deal 2 damage.
The first time that Quicksmith Rebel came down yesterday, it was just a complete blowout. And this game might be similar, because we see this immediate effect. It has already created a 2-for-1, but the shocking ability on the artifact just stays there until either it or the rebel is dealt with.
Now, Yusuf has got a Reservoir Walker. It's buffered his life total a little bit, but look at that in the air. Snare Thopter coming through. 3 damage in the air, 3 damage on the ground. This is how you close out games quickly.
And I think Yusuf is desperately trying to keep a creature around so that he can maybe use one of his prayer pawns, but doesn't even have the right power and toughness combination here.
Yeah, we're going to see potentially 2 points of shock damage from Weldfast Monitor to Yusuf's head at the end of turn. Untap and potentially deal 2 more. Snare Thopter in the air. He's perilously close to losing this first game.
No wonder PV has been so quick in winning these games. This is quite amazing.
Looks like there may be an aerial modification or indeed Multiform Wonder from Yusuf Kemal Vefa here. A couple of good plays that he can make on 5 mana.
But is it good enough? Is, for example, a Multiform Wonder really going to stabilize here?
Well, we'll find out soon enough. There's already 3 energy from the Reservoir Walker. That's now going up to 6. So plenty of opportunity to use the varied abilities of Multiform Wonder. Will that be good enough? Well, time will tell. Paulo immediately giving a good read. We know that he has a whole bunch of copies of assorted removal spells in his deck. Probably the cleanest and most straightforward 3 copies of Daring Demolition in his deck. And they are very, very potent against this rare.
Yeah, we saw Christopher Larson in his draft pass up on a lot of these. And I think it was really good decision making by him. But if you look at how aggressive PV's deck is, he can really use this 4 mana unconditional removal to push through and to just close out games rapidly.
Of course, he does have to actually draw it in order to be able to make that happen. I'm not sure that that's the case thus far. Until that happens, though, it looks like PV perfectly happy to present a lethal set of attacks here and force some action from the other side of the table. With a shock on a stick, effectively, even if Multiform Wonder pumps its toughness a little bit, he's going to have to use lots of energy, pump the toughness a great deal before it's safe if it chooses to block here.
No, I think you are just content with blocking with a 3/3 flying lifelink. It's not what you want to be doing with multiform wonder, but sometimes you don't have a better choice.
And that seems to be the option that Yusuf Kemal Vefa's going for here. Plenty of energy being spent. And it looks like there was a pump on toughness there just to ensure the bounce. PV basically forcing Yusuf to use even more energy if he wants to keep that wonder alive.
So Yusuf activated flying lifelink and boosted the toughness, and now he boosted the toughness another time. That's what it seems like.
And Spy-Side Infiltrator, another persistent source of damage. Whenever it gets tapped, it's going to deal 1 damage to Yusuf. 3/2 body as well is, just a body on the board is pretty solid in this case because Vefa, without very many creatures to work with just yet. Siege modification means that multiform wonder +2/+2 and flying naturally, not going to have to use any more energy for that ability.
And that's a huge swing. Now if Yusuf can generate some more energy, he might actually have a shot this game.
Sorry, it's aerial modification, not the siege modification there. The flying alternative that comes in white.
So even something like Attune with Aether would be really, really huge here.
And Prey Upon meaning that the Quicksilver Rebel getting taken down, and that a big feature also because it means that now there's not the shock on a stick as we've been calling it, the World-Fast Monitor able to tap to deal damage.
And Yusuf activated the lifelink ability first, so both Prey Upon and the resulting attack step gained him 5 points of life.
Big changes in this game. It is not over yet, but all the eggs in one multiform wonder-shaped basket for Vefa. If it does happen that Paulo Vitor Damarosa can find some of his unconditional removal, we could see another big swing in this game. And just 1 energy left for Vefa now, so the multiform wonder is going to have to content itself with being a 5/5 flyer.
But who's favored now? Who's favored this game? Is it suddenly Yusuf?
Well,
Ooh.
I think that this might be something that changes the face of things quite a bit. Immediately using his Restoration Specialist to get back an artifact creature gets him more energy, means that multiform wonder is that much more potent.
5, maybe just an attack for 9, as long as you know that Paulo Vitor doesn't have that removal, and of course if he doesn't block with his Snare Thopter. I think 9 points with lifelink and 18-point lifeswing would be just what the doctor ordered here.
Yeah, Vefa burning through energy, but getting an awful lot for it.
I just realized the interaction with the creature he just sacrificed. Had the wonder been destroyed, he would have been able to get the wonder and the aura back from the graveyard.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. Yeah, a nice little play there. Ultimately, chose to be a bit more aggressive with it, just getting the Reservoir Walker for extra energy. Paulo Vitor, just every draw step now must just be desperately hoping to find his big removal spells. Plenty of lands in play now for Vefa. If it works out that he draws something like a Universal Solvent, he's going to be able to pretty much just pop it off straight away.
And PV does not have too much time left. He will have to start chump blocking next turn. Maybe he drew a Demolition here? Let's find out.
Well, first off, this attack deals a point of damage to Vefa. It seems like mere moments ago that he was on the brink, but now on a full 20 life.
This looks like one of these typical attacks we see very often where somebody really wants to enable Revolt.
Foundry Inspector after combat. 3/2 that's going to make artifacts cheaper. And the forced chump block there. So this next draw step, absolutely pivotal for Paulo Vitor Damarosa in this first game.
It's a spell. It's crazy how or it's just one permanent that
Yeah.
that keeps this game from being an absolute rout.
Yeah, Multiform Wonder, if it had been almost any other card, this game would have already been over. Even when we look at some of the other powerhouse rares in the set, the fact that there's been so much life gained for Vefa using this Multiform Wonder has been gigantic. I have to think that if it was the big removal spell, PV would have pretty much slammed it down here. Let's see what he's got. Well, I'm not sure that that's going to be quite enough here.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
And that's the first game all over and done with. We had a lightning fast quarter-final set. We had some very slow semi-finals from Vefa, but game one of this finals pretty brisk.
But a nice comeback, a really nice comeback. Using a Multiform Wonder alone was definitely not enough, but giving it +2/+2 and flying, of course, then it's suddenly this almost unbeatable machine unless you can find a Daring Demolition.
So Palavitor Damaderosa going to his sideboard, having a little think about what he wants to change for game two. He said that going into the draft he had a number of different plans within red-black, and he kind of feels like he got stuck in the middle a little bit. He was looking to be on a strong artifact theme, but it didn't quite pan out the way that he maybe would have hoped. But obviously the powerful removal means that he's got a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card against the sorts of things, in fact, that Vefa did exactly in this last game. If he had drawn that removal, it could have all been over pretty decisively.
Yes, and of course he has to. He knows he has 3 of them in his deck. You know, he knew with every draw step that there was this chance to find the saving removal spell and maybe just winning the game on the spot. That's something you now have to shake off, and you know that in a lot of scenarios you would have won this game with slightly different draw steps.
Yeah, and of course this is where experience really comes to play, and Palavitor Damaderosa has about as much experience as anyone you could hope to find playing at a GP anywhere in the world. This is his 19th GP top 8. He's got 10 Pro Tour top 8s. He's just a formidable force in the history of Magic the Gathering. These players shuffling up now. I think both kind of keen to get this final moving along at a brisk old pace.
Yes, the hall is almost empty now. Few people still watching, of course, but not everybody stays for that long, and it's actually getting kind of cold, but it's quiet now.
Yeah, easier to focus perhaps, and of course these top 8 matches, as I'm sure we learned fairly thoroughly and clearly in the semi-finals, they are untimed. You can take the time that you need to make decisions, though there are judges nearby. If they feel like you're playing excessively slowly, they can still apply slow play warnings. Not the way that you want your tournament to end at this stage.
But the players are playing at a reasonable pace. It's just if you really have a long drawn out match with a 2-for-1 victory for one side, maybe 1 or even 2 close games, then it just takes its time.
Yeah, I mean, the entirety of the semi-final that Vefa was going through, it was very back and forth, and there was a lot going on. It wasn't a matter of turns just sort of dragging out without anything happening. But these players shuffling up, hoping to get sort of a good solid 7, and that's kind of the nightmare scenario for either player in these finals. Like, kind of not like this moment where you draw your opening hand and it's just not got any lands.
But we haven't seen mulligans have a huge impact on our feature matches all weekend long. I think with the Renegade map, with the implements, and with generally low mana curves, that you can really operate well on 7 cards, but also on 6 cards. You don't have to take that many mulligans. It's this is really a nice property of a limited format.
Yeah, Vefa does have a couple of copies of SRAM in his deck that let him draw cards. There are plenty of ways of getting bits and pieces of incremental card advantage. Universal Solvent on turn 1 there from Vefa. Meanwhile, an Implement of Malice from Palavitor Damaderosa in spite of not having black mana.
Or not revealing it yet.
So once again, we see the Restoration Specialist coming down. In principle, at some point, it might get that Universal Solvent. I'm guessing that it might have a target a little before then. And the first creature for Palavitor Damaderosa in Prakata Pillarbug.
I wasn't aware how how well Yusuf designed his deck to make Restoration Specialist really special. You know, just from a quite mediocre card. I'm not the biggest fan of regrowth effects in general, but if you can really get two high impact cards from it, that's quite the package.
Decommission dealing with Paulo Vitor Damarosa's first creature, clearing away for an attack from that Restoration Specialist. And right now, Paulo is a mono-red deck, though he's a mono-red deck that has a pretty potent play here. The Scrapper coming down, it's going to be able to, the Scrapper Champion is going to be able to potentially swing in for a lot if it can get through this next turn. Double Strike, comes with 2 energy and can potentially get very large.
Quite a pushed card at uncommon, I think. The fact that you are maybe, depending on your deck, you are threatening 6 points of attack on turn 5, and then for every 2 energy you get, it's another 2.
Yeah, I mean, this Scrapper Champion with no help here is going to be able to attack with 3 power of first strike, and that means that even if there are sort of big old blocks coming from Vefa, the 4-drop's happily trading with whatever gets put in the way of it.
But what if PV has a combat trick? Then suddenly everything is out of control.
It does not take very much for PV to be winning this fight fairly handily. He's found a swamp, that a big piece of the puzzle, and by the looks of it, he's found a powerful, powerful card here. There's that Quicksmith Rebel. Now the Implement of Malice doesn't just sacrifice to draw cards, force discards. It taps Steel Shocks.
Which is kind of the combat trick PV was looking for. He now dealt 6 points and is even threatening to kill the Restoration Specialist. But Yusuf defeated an early Quicksmith Rebel before in impressive fashion.
Yeah, let's see whether or not he can pull things back. I mean, this is kind of the story of the game from game 1, that Paulo gets off to a quick start and pressures Yusuf's life total, but Vefa able to bounce back. Let's see if the same thing can happen again. Big attacks here from Vefa.
And Paulo smartly delaying his decision what to shoot with his artifact that got this new ability. Yusuf might just have a prey pawn to deal with the
Quicksmith Rebel. Yeah. Looks like we're going to see Revoke Privileges. That's going to deal with Scrapper Champion. And that does now leave Vefa with a little bit less mana up, such that... Oh, tapping out entirely. What are we going to see here? This is a great time for PV to be using this shock ability. Aegis Automaton. With 5 mana up, it will potentially be able to do a fair amount of bouncing.
Last match, it was actually quite powerful against the deck that Fabian Friedrich brought to the table. Now, I think it's not really at its best, but it depends what PV has here to follow up.
And paying 5 mana for your 3/3s, not ideal, but you'll certainly take it if you have to. Foundry Assembler coming down with no improvise. That Implement of Malice has far more valuable things to do by tapping.
Has a better tap ability, yes.
And there's the Multiform Wonder. Target acquired for Paulo Vitor Damarosa. Even if he has a Daring Demolition, he doesn't yet have the double black in order to be able to cast it.
Could we see somewhat of a replay of game 1 where PV has Quicksmith Rebel and Yusuf manages to one-up him with Multiform Wonder? I don't think this will repeat in exactly that fashion. Because PV is certainly very aware that this is one of the main ways for him to lose the game.
I mean, Vefa is being tempting there. 1 card in hand. That's the perfect amount for that Implement of Malice to hit. Throws it out there. I somehow doubt that he's going to bite on that one.
I think the power of a card that you can just tap for to deal 2 damage at any point will make sure that Paulo is not sacrificing this implement unless he is absolutely forced to.
Spy-side Infiltrator there, the play for Paolo, keeping up 3 mana potentially for some sort of a trick.
Note that Yusuf is also not playing any lands, so he has that solvent in play, which means if he draws lands, he's very likely to cast them.
And Maelstrom Wanderer, Multiform Wonder, different MW card, getting in there, and a little bit of energy being spent. And High Spire Artisan the follow-up here.
Nice. So Yusuf manages to draw cards that are not too susceptible to the 2-shot effect, to the 2 damage.
Saying that, here's a Scrounging Bandar. If you're looking for something that could reasonably be hit for 2, this is a pretty ideal target.
Okay, yeah, that's maybe not a card you have to play in that spot. It seems like it's too easy of a target.
I mean, it kind of saves Yusuf 2 life, but I'm not entirely sure that that's really worth it.
It does exactly that, and I think that's not enough to play that card.
Well, he's tapped out, he's done his attacking. I'm guessing this is the end of the turn for Vefa, and now we get to see what Palvitor Damaterosa has to bring to the table.
The Revoke Privileges is certainly a big showstopper. Otherwise, I think the game would have already been over with the double striker in conjunction with the
Well, Fatal Push, that is a great way of dealing with a 2-drop, and that's exactly how much Aegis Automaton costs to cast. So one of the bigger sort of late-game problem cards is dealt with. It was never going to be able to kill off Multiform Wonder. That's got a cost of 5. Even with Revolt, that was not going to happen. Welder Automaton coming down for Palvitor Damaterosa here. And that's another card that, when he's got lots of mana, can potentially translate into additional points of damage.
And PV really didn't want to put up with an opponent that would be bouncing his utility creatures all the time and making life much more difficult for him.
Also, I guess it's mana efficient. If he later on wanted to be using that black mana for something else, it's nice to not have to worry about not being able to play all your spells in good time.
Absolutely. And now he's just on a burn plan. He has the implement that shoots for 2. He can pay 4 mana for 1 more damage. He might get in the final point of damage with Spy-side Infiltrator.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot here because Yusuf does not have the requisite energy that he had in the previous game to really be able to milk that Multiform Wonder in a big way. But that's the 7th land. That means that all of a sudden we do have our Universal Solvent online. It will be able to deal with 1 permanent in play, and there are some choice targets here.
But it has to be Quicksmith Rebel, right? It's the card that has been dominating this game for far too long.
There it goes. 1 common dealing with 1 rare. A parting shot from Palvitor Damaterosa here.
9, 7, 6. This is getting really, really close.
And at some point now, this Implement of Malice can be used such that Yusuf Kamal Vefa can not just hold back a card in hand as some kind of a trick. Empty-handed is the exact time where Paolo can wait and use his implement to maximum advantage. So an additional land here, not bad for Palvitor Damaterosa. Additional spells, also not bad. He's in a lovely spot.
Not much he can draw that he wouldn't be happy with at this stage of the game.
Yeah, turning 7 lands into 8, of course, meaning that Welder Automaton gets to be activated twice per turn.
Yusuf needs to draw something that gives him energy. And then the problem is that the Multiform Wonder is quite hungry, so we would have to see, once again, Yusuf invest basically 3 energy if you wanted to gain 5 life, or 2 energy if you wanted to gain 3 life.
And there goes the implement. 1 card in hand. Turns out to be a basic land. No big surprise there. But Paolo also drawing a card off that.
He might even be considering attacking with everything, but I think that's not really necessary. He is winning this game unless Yusuf can muster something. So I think you should first see if Yusuf actually manages to draw something to stabilize.
Look at Yusuf's face there. Looks a little bit worried about what's going on, and I think he has every reason to be.
Yeah, but I wouldn't judge this book by its cover. He's a super experienced player. He will not give away too much with the way he's looking at things. And at the worst he has a third game to win.
Absolutely, he does. He's already shown that he has the pedigree to beat a Hall of Famer in a finals match. It's just a matter of he needs to do more of game 1 and potentially less of game 2.
He needs one of his prey upon effects to deal with an early Krigsmith rebel. Then this game is looking completely different, because Paulo also hasn't had the chance to deal with the multiform wonder. He's also still, I believe, 1 turn away from winning, unless he risks an all-out attack here.
Yeah, an extra land here. 8 lands in play means 2 activations per turn of Welder Automaton. So he's kind of got Vefa in check here.
You can't attack with everything, because I think there's 1 more energy left for Yusuf. So the Wanderer would be threatening to get lifelink. But in this case, it probably means that you are just passing the turn. Yusuf will be forced to do something with the Wanderer, and then you close out the game the next turn.
So Paulo Vitor Damaderosa carefully weighing up his options here, trying to figure out exactly if there's anything better to do than the onboard tricks. Gets to pass the turn because, of course, Welder Automaton works just as well at the end of turn as it does in the middle of your own. And aerial modification is a huge draw for Yusuf Kemal Vefa here.
That's a lethal attack.
It appears to be. He's been able to make a flyer, and there's the handshake. We have our Grand Prix champion.
Wow, that was unexpected.
Well, you don't put these cards in your deck if you don't want to play them. A little sort of shocked smile there from Paulo Vitor Damaderosa. It seemed like he might have found a way of getting things done, but no, congratulations to Yusuf Kemal Vefa, our champion here. Able to take it down, a big swing in the air, and that'll do it. Fantastic stuff there, and I'm sure that PV not going to be too sad. He's going to be heading to the Pro Tour next week, and of course we will see Yusuf. He now has a Pro Tour invitation for Pro Tour Amonkhet later in the year.
PV will be quite sad.
He's sad every time he loses, but I'm sure he'll get over it in time for the Pro Tour.
Let's hope that.